اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وقدره العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين، أفضل الصلاة وتم تسليما على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن هذا السادة التابعين علماء عاملين وعامة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلا يوم الدين. أما بعد. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Welcome back to the Soullutionz podcast. We're having a general discussion on the current events throughout the world. You know what I'm saying? Fiqh is what this is called. I mean, current events. Fiqh. All right, and number of different events that have taken place, and we're going to touch on some of the characteristics that we tend to try to bring into Islam with us, those of us who are converts, and certain behaviors that we adapt or get indoctrinated in as growing up in the society. If many of us, some of us who have inherited Islam from their parents and grandparents, um, and I say indoctrination because we get introduced to so many things, and related to them things we get introduced. We have people that get popular, and other people start doing it. People that's close to us start doing it. Hold on. Alhamdulillah, I'm back. Sorry for the interruption. So, um, like I was saying, things that become popular and people start doing it, and our peers start getting involved with it. I mean, and we're faced with what is called peer pressure. Um, one of the many of the incidents that have taken place in Philadelphia alone, it's like numerous things that have taken place here. It's kind of crazy. I didn't think it would get this crazy. But I did say like 6 years ago, when I had first moved to Philadelphia, that they not too far behind. Uh, they're not too far behind the way that Chicago was at that time, 6 years ago. Now, um, Philadelphia has surpassed Chicago in regards to the violence and the shootings and the killings and all of the stuff that was going on in Chicago for the past 6 years. And it's kind of like parallel, because when you have African, I ain't gonna say African Americans, but you have different ethnicities that's in many different cities that deal with each other. Um, these things are bound to take place. Now, what we ignore about the events that take place in our societies is that many of these events that take place in our societies are actually social, political, economical, um, economical events. I mean, and reason why I say that when I mention social political, because the things that had taken place in Chicago in regards to the violence. It was a social political move. Why? Because they removed certain of they removed certain programs, and discontinued certain programs that brought jobs to past offenders that came home from the country after doing 20 and 30 years in the penitentiary, and gave them these jobs to be able to combat the violence, or interrupt some of the violence that may possibly take place due to events that have taken place in neighborhoods. All right, and when they removed that program, then these brothers who came home, they got C numbers. Right, C numbers. Most of the C numbers came out after the 60s into the 70s. Before 1967, the penitentiary number didn't have an abbreviation in front of it, meaning that there was no letter abbreviation in front of it. It was just a number. 67, 68, 69, these was the first incorporated abbreviations in front of the numbers. These were A numbers. One of my mentors. Come on, stop, Sue. One of my mentors on my first bit that my Umi had instructed me to connect with. He had an A number, and you know what I'm saying, just to give a little history. You know what I'm saying, she come from street tribe, street organization, and this individual was one of the founders of one of the main street organizations, and she was like, get in contact with him. At the time, I was still fighting my murder cases. And so it was like I only had like certain times to where I could build with him. He was an old timer then, but he had been gone since like 68. I mean, this was like 1990 in the early 90s, 92, 93, when so when I met up with him, met him, and you know what I'm saying, he kind of like, he didn't take me up under his wing, but he kind of like gave me a bunch of pointers and ropes, showed me the ropes and how to to actually move in that system. But the place that I was in was like a co-ed joint, so my second wife was on the other was on the side of the women, and so I was on the side of the men. So that's another narrative. I don't want to digress. But however, you know what I'm saying, he was a political prisoner, and many of the guys that came in the penitentiary during when he had got locked up in the late 60s, they was also political prisoners, all the way into the 70s. What made them political prisoners? What made them political prisoners is that because of the means that they had to take in order to survive, the society has been designed for them to take them routes to be able to survive and take care of themselves and their families and their community establishments. As a result, these are the avenues that they put in place in order to subject them to a behavior pattern that would either take them to prison or to the grave. Come on, Sue. Or to the grave.
She almost put you in the full Nelson, man.
Yeah, if her arms was longer. Yeah, so that's why I said it's social political. During the same time period, you had the Black Panthers in the 70s, the remnants of the Black Panthers in Chicago, because in 68 or 69, the police had assassinated Chairman Fred Hampton. They had assassinated him in his sleep, and his wife was in the next room, pregnant with my companion. It was his son, Fred Hampton Jr. All right, and he later on, followed in his father's footsteps. Later on in life, after he had got through the situation that he had went through in the system. However, because he was the son of someone of someone who was in the COINTELPRO, they also the remnants of the COINTELPRO, they also cornered him as well. And addressed him and got him involved to where trying to frame him for a situation he had nothing to do with, all because his direction that he turned to was to restart and complete the work that his father was doing as a Black Panther. I mean, he didn't start the new Black Panther Party up. Someone else started that up. He had started another movement, and I'm not going to mention what that movement was, but they tried to jam him up as well, right? So, that's that's why I had mentioned like social, political, economical, because the things that's related to economics amongst our people, we don't focus on building generational wealth, right? Building generational wealth in our families. The first generation after the freeing of the slaves, the first 50 years after freeing the slaves, 1865, by 1890, there was many African American millionaires amongst us. That's why they call that like the golden age. To the golden age, because these were the more millionaires among the African Americans was built and established during that time than any other time period. There's many inventions. You had the brother who invented the radio, the brother who invented many different things, to the point to where they had made a YouTube video around Black History Month saying that how would the world be if Black people didn't exist. So, and they had a series of these videos about how the world would be if Black people didn't exist. The world be not technologically advanced as it is now if Black people didn't exist. You follow me? You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be technologically advanced like it is now. So many different things. You know what I'm saying? Country music wouldn't even be here. Country music wouldn't exist, because country music came from music that was established with among Black African Americans. So that wouldn't exist. A bunch of other things wouldn't exist that Black people had invented, right? So, to fast forward, the things that Black people was involved in regards to like building wealth in the 20s and in the 30s, this came after that period. Which during that particular period of time, we had a common enemy, or a common not adversary, a common a common enemy. You know what I'm saying? That even that during that time, though we had a common enemy, but you had other Black people that broke away from the assignment, which is self-preservation. self-preservation and and building. All right, so that's just I wanted to touch on that. You know what I mean? Because it brings us up to these current events of why these things are taking place. Also, I mean, a lot of the killing, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had foretold about the senseless killing, that people be killed and don't know what they're being killed for. The fitna and fasad will be throughout the land. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? The decline, like I had mentioned earlier today, the last 4 decades, you witness a decline of people's practicing of Islam. You know what I mean? 4 decades, a decline. Things that's going on now wasn't like that in the 80s and in the 90s and in the early 2000s. It's crazy now. The only thing we're left to be waiting for after all of the dress rehearsals that have been transpired, that have came into existence since the 80s, since the 70s and the 80s, is only leading up to the appearance of Imam Mahdi, alayhi salam. You know what I'm saying? Coming up to his appearance. All the dress rehearsals all the signs have already taken place. You know what I'm saying? We're living in many of the last final minor signs before his appearance. Right now, and you know what I'm saying. Really, as a plan, as a plan, we need to be focused on getting ourselves and preparing ourselves for the arrival of the Imam Mahdi, because first thing he's going to do, he's going to clean house first. You know what I'm saying? He's going to clean house. He's going to put the fire out. I remember going, going out in the path, doing Khuruj 3 days, 10 days, 40 days, 4 months. And one of my old timers, he said, how you gonna invite someone to a house that's already burning? What that means is that the Muslims are out of order. We got to get ourselves in order. So we got to get ourselves back to practicing the sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and implementing the sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in our lives, implementing the Quran in our lives, in our homes, in our families. You know what I'm saying? And however, even though the work of Dawah to Bleak was not formed by a political social political Jamaat. However, it was formed by a practical Mu'amilat Jamaat. You know what I mean? Which the Jamaat, they had the Jamaat Tabligh, they have a blueprint of all the Muslims in the world, where they can be found. The Muslims that's up in them jungles in Africa, the Muslims that's up in them jungles in India, with them tigers and them mosquitoes that'll kill you. You know what I'm saying? It's been Christianized and bringing them out of them. So they know where everybody at. Right. That's why most of the people that get in the work of Dawah and Tabligh, when they first do 4 months, they have them. They direct them to do 4 months in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and Kashmir. However, the work of Dawah and Tabligh is not just what people misunderstand about it. Is not just codified in the subcontinent of India. It's codified in the Medina model of the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's why most people, when they read the works of the Shaykh Uthman and Fodio, Taqaddamullah bi rahmati Ameen, and they've been involved in the work of Dawah and Tabligh, they understand his minhaj and his form in the form of Dawah, because it's not anything that was foreign to them, right? You know what I'm saying? And the main objective, you know what I'm saying, before the fall of the Sokoto Caliphate, was that looking for the arrival of Imam Mahdi, alayhi salatu wasalam. You know what I'm saying? Alayhi salam. So I'm gonna let maybe Abdul Mujeeb, he could, you know what I'm saying, piggyback off of, you know what I'm saying, my opening statement, and Amir Khalil, you know what I'm saying, he could, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He can come in after him.
I'm on the ropes.
You on the ropes?
I'm on the ropes too. I'm on the ropes too. You see, I'm over here yawning. I got water. I'm trying to keep myself up.
Hey, I'm drinking my huff right here.
Yeah, I couldn't even get no coffee. You know what I mean? I cheated myself with this Wawa stuff. Whoever like Wawa coffee, y'all tripping.
Man, I love Wawa coffee.
Man, I don't know, man. I don't know.
But this ain't Wawa. This is Folgers from Cousins.
Man, listen, Folgers put you down too. Yeah, but like I said, I didn't really, I came in while he was like 6 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
I came in, 6 minutes in. Like we said, this is open discussion, so I was kind of like, my apologies, y'all. I had to pray Maghrib and then, the mess shit.
Just talk about what's on your mind, brother. What's on your mind?
Oh man, everything is on my mind, man. Everything is on my mind.
Talk about it.
I'm Mr. Petty Draws. So
hey, look, man. I knew I should have did this joint in the other room while the kids there, because my Ibn like Mr. Petty Draws.
Tell them don't go using it, but every time you see that's
Yo,
Uncle
they
Petty
see
Draws.
your picture, boy, they gonna call you Mr. Petty Draws.
And they be like, that's Uncle
look,
Petty
man.
Draws. Look, she looking now. Like,
Petty Draws.
But I got a question for the floor. Since it's an open discussion,
right?
Did you see me and Abu Muhammad's live today?
Yeah, I watched
it. I knew it.
I told you, I'm Mr. Petty Draws. Since we didn't get your input, how did you feel about the live? Critique the live. For one, critique it. What you would have said, how you would have came.
I don't know. I'm still warming up to
it. You still warming up to it?
Yeah, like to come on like a final. I mean, it's something, and this is usually with me personally, with working with other groups and individuals and stuff. It's usually the backlash of when everything is over with. You know what I mean? Sometimes things, I thought, the way sometimes how things end sometimes, and then it's just kind of like, you try to kind of like leave things be hush hush about it, and leave it alone, and then then it'd be like you'll start hearing things, and you'd be like, that's not what happened. You know what I mean? And and it comes out, and then it's like, wait a minute, that wasn't said. Who said that? Well, where did this come from? And like all kinds of things start floating around. And it's really part of the immaturity, the political, the being politically immature. When groups that used to work together, and they break down, doesn't necessarily always have to go sour, but for some reason it usually does. And like I said, I mean, in a way, I'm so used to always being quiet about issues, and how many like y'all spoke up on the issue. And how you feel?
But now it's the time for you not to be quiet, But we try and get it off the chest. You gotta say it with your chest. But
yeah.
but how I feel about it, outside of the jokes and then making it a light situation, that I feel as though if things, naturally could have separated, because we had something good, no matter how we made of it. We addressed it. What should have been the proper etiquette of the person hearing a tale from someone, right? So, outside of that, I think, us being brothers in Islam, we could have really sat down and spoke about the situation. Besides hearing, what we heard from an outside, point of view, which
Right.
came from someone else. So that was more of it, than that, because just saying me, right? If somebody you know me, right? If somebody would have said, why y'all, why did the situation come to an end? I would have been like, things, just wasn't working out how we planned, so we just divided. We still love each other. We're still brothers for the sake of Allah. And I would have left it at that, you know what I mean? And
Right.
not to keep any hatred in the hearts of the believers, because we're believers still. One
Right.
thing I told y'all before, like I don't hate a Muslim. Wallahi, I can't hate a Muslim. But that's what I would have said. I can't always put myself, my standard of my brothers, man, is up here. It's
Right.
like up
Right.
here.
Right.
You're my brother in Islam. Everything is sacred. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said is sacred. And sacred means it's something that should be held on to.
Right.
It's valued, it's important. You know what I mean? So keeping relationships amongst the Muslims is something that, I'm very big with, especially if
But
we have the right to.
one of the problems is honestly, if you look at the contributing factor, is the contributing factor is outside influences that's really not relevant, to the situation. I've been engaged in dawah teaching for years. There's a lot of people that love me, and there's people that hate me. You know what I mean? There's people that's upset with me over the most minute things, such as I don't participate in group dhikr. You understand? You see what I'm saying? And so then you'll take this person, and everybody's traveling in the same circle, and so then people are, oh, well, Khalil, I wouldn't, he has bad mannerisms, he didn't participate in our group dhikr, this isn't fair. And, and some people be having gilla, they be having some kind of hatred or something like that towards me anyway. And so then they take that as the avenue to express themselves. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes it's not always the fault of the people, but where they faulted at is engaging and listening to the gossip. You're talking about stuff that's old, and it's coming from people that they're giving their input and saying this, that, and the third. But these are the same people, like offline. I'll be like shocked, like I didn't know we had a problem. We was, a couple of years ago, we was hanging out eating. When did this come about? Are you sure this is the same person you're talking about? So yeah, these type of things is happening. Even like here in our city, brothers wanted to get on this flag waving and be the only ones who called to the path of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So much so, like it infiltrated our Jama'ah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're the only ones. Like, dude, you ain't the only ones. We all been here doing work. Why can't we just give respect where respect is due to each other? And then what happens, you split everybody. We're better together than we are apart. You see what I'm saying? And then you don't see that. So then what happens in the splits, then you see everybody's weaknesses and deficiencies. You see what I'm saying? And so then, and it just gets smaller and smaller. And the influences that's coming, they're not even from people that travel in your circle. They're basically from the boogeyman. They're online. They're just online speakers, charismatic. I decided to wake up one day and I just had an epiphany. We're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. If you have an opinion that's contrary to people can't have that. It's usually the inner Negro inside of you. That inner Negro.
Say that again. Say that again.
Negro. And the thing is, it's a lot of people they dusty Negroes.
You
So
got
if you don't take and
your need,
fix that
bro.
dustiness and polish your soul with the Sunnah, then you're just gonna be a dusty nigga Imam. You know what I mean? Or a dusty nigga Sheikh. That's really really the God's honest truth. And that's what you're saying. And you hear, everybody get caught up, people listening to find out any gossip. If somebody in the ranks of the Jamaat, having to do something, some kind of heinous behavior, action, or sin, they automatically want to blame the leader because they just been looking for something anyway. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna blame you, or somebody feels that they know you from years ago. You're not the same. If you're the same person you was 10 years ago, something wrong. You see what I'm saying? That means if you had bad character 10 years ago, then you shouldn't have the same bad traits. You should be changing, So, I mean, yeah, these things happen, And then, everybody wants to play politically correct and they poke at you. And then when you strike back, it's like, how dare you strike back? And you see, like this one brother we used to work with in the masjid, and I don't know, maybe I just felt like he was just trying to, constantly, provoke me, And so, we're in this meeting and this cat, he's like challenging me. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'm laying on the floor in the meeting, kind of like just chilling, And I'm like, why are you so upset? I mean, I know why you're upset, because you're trying to hold a position on this, and we smashed that joint. You see what I'm saying? And so then he was just, and I'm like, man, well, and so every time I try to answer back, he's just shut up, and I'm like, yo, hold up, cuz, who are you talking to? Right? Just shut up, just shut up, Khalil, shut your mouth, right? So now I'm like, yeah, this dude done shut up me like almost like 30 minutes straight. To the point now, like, I think this guy really think like I'm his child or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, look, I said, listen, what we could do is, I like, brother so-and-so, you can go ahead and call the adhan. Brother such and such, you go ahead and lead the prayer. Me and this brother here, we got something we need to handle upstairs. And so then immediately he was like, see? Why you want to go to your jahiliyyah? See? Look at you. I'm like, hold up. You keep poking at me, and now I'm giving you what you're looking for. Now you want to blame me as if I'm the one. Bro, I was just laying on the floor. I let you basically humiliate me and disrespect me for 30 minutes straight before I finally said something. And a lot of people say that. And people probably run into this brother and they'll be like, don't talk to Khalil because, one time me and him had an argument. They won't tell a story like that. They'll tell a story like, yeah, Khalil, he has a bad temper. Yeah, he's a real bad temper. And that's how they'll tell a story. They'll never tell a story like, yo, look, I was disrespecting him, and this is what happened. No, nobody ever tells that story like that. The story they'll tell is the reaction. And so this is the thing, and you got to understand, the dealing with these public platforms, people deal with you almost like you running for the presidency. You know how they be having the presidential debates? That joint they don't really be debating. That joint be like the shady session. You know what I'm saying? The mudslinging session. And that's basically how brothers and sisters deal with themselves now. You know what I'm saying? At one point in time, that used to be my thing. Yo, somebody have an issue. Y'all be arguing about an issue with the deen. Instead of y'all addressing it, like Allah said, refer it back to Allah and His Messenger. Now we mudslinging. Like, yeah, remember that time when you got locked out your car? Yeah, that's because, you missed that ayat. If you wasn't so stupid, then you'll get it. You know what I mean? We love doing stuff like that. And that really doesn't really hold no true basis in the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? So, as time when I made a conscious effort to try to grow from that, that type of debate, and then, but the person who I don't have no remorse in dealing with like that is the arrogant person, because showing arrogance to the arrogant individual, that's a sadaqah. Because if you show humility to somebody who's arrogant, you ain't doing nothing but feeding his ego. You're not helping him now. You're only puffing him up even more because he already feel like he got one over you, right? But you give him back that same arrogance that he's giving you. Oh, now things change a little bit. The tide has shifted a little bit. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, a lot of this stuff, yeah, people don't know how to have discourse, disagreement, you know, and they make everything so personal. You know, it's always like people study your personal life, you know. You can study Sirah. The Prophet is the best of creation, you know. He has a more interesting story than me. So don't worry about me. Worry about me and my little problems and my faults, you know. I'm already worried about them. I don't need your help. There ain't nothing you can do for me on the Qiyamah anyway. You can't intercede for me. Why are you worried about them?
Now, do you think, you know, with that being said, do you think these issues that we have can be fixed? That we can come together, you know, as Ahlul Sunnah, you know, and spread this down how it should be, or do you think sometimes it's just best to, you know, try to keep things structured and love each other, fi sabilillah?
Nah.
What do you think?
Nah. If I'm about to kill my son. Hold on a second. Get out. You over there like, get out. Anyway, it can, but what is understood now, because, you know, with us in America, we do things according to labels. We make it a fashion. You see what I'm saying? The definition of what a Sunni now is has to be better qualified. That joint is almost like gang like. If you want to get on real quick, you want to get on lecture circuit, all you got to do is just talk about one of the talk about Salafis. Start dissing Al-Albani. Start condemning Ibn Taymiyyah to hellfire. Right? That doesn't mean you agree with their creed because you don't sit there and talk about them. Just that's all you got to do. Start dissing them. Start condemning them. Right? And then when you get to the controversial issues, you have to, in order to be accepted as a Sunni, as today's Sunni, you have to accept controversial positions, right? Like I said, some people feel offended by me if I don't participate in group dhikr when they have a dhikr session. If I knew when the group dhikr started, then I probably would have left before y'all got busy. But because it got busy, it's like, okay, this isn't what I really participate in. Now it's something like, oh, you know, this is a problem. But you find many of the ulama, you know, many of the ulama from the Malikis, that wasn't the practice. That wasn't the practice of Imam Malik. But, you know, that doesn't mean I don't respect your position. That just means that ain't my thing. If I'm making salat in a masjid, I pray sadr with my arms down, and the next man prays with his arms up. Is that up on me to condemn him because he got his arms on his chest? No, he's following his interpretation of the Sunnah based on the narrations that he followed. And I'm doing the same. So I respect your position. We can't do that because you know why? That's boring. That's boring. We have to be spicy. We gotta keep it saucy. How you keep it saucy? You gotta talk about it. One, you might start carrying lies and slander. Imam Malik only prayed like that because his arms was broke. Right? That's saucy number one. Saucy number two, you make a Facebook stat. Well, the Mu'tamid in the Maliki madhab is that they prayed right hand over left. You get it spicy. You see what I'm saying? You want to get it spicy? You start to you gotta in order to be accepted by the main body of Sunnis, you gotta accept these controversial issues and condemn the adverse opinion. And that's what do you call it? Bullying? Or you want to use fancy words? That's fascism in its finest. Its finest practice. I can't accept you unless you take my way, right? We're not talking about the sunnah, right? We're talking about the issues where the scholars made their ijtihad on, and you want to rumble about it. Now I'm forcing you to do it. You see what I'm saying? So this is like fascism. Like most of today's Sunnis, they're their behavior is contrary to that of the foundation that we all claim. You know, it's contrary to that. You know, if you don't follow this particular way, you be like, yo, I don't do this, or you're a default Wahhabi. You have a touch of Wahhabism in you. Well, let me give you a fun fact, a snapping fact, right? Some Sunnis consider Wahhabis at minimum a deviant, right? There's some that hold them that they're kuffar. So when you say that I'm a deviant, a default Wahhabi or a pseudo Salafi, are you calling me a kafir or you're calling me a mubtadi? Which one is it? Now see, if I myself, you keep calling me that, then apparently you're trying to offend me. So when I slide my five knuckles across your face, then see, Khalil, you see what he did? Because that's like somebody calling you, you a kafir. Or you're a mubtadi. Make up your mind which one you want to do it. Don't use a different word to say, hey, that's why everybody's divided. Everybody's just not divided because they follow a different method. Right? And then you get the people who's dispatched, they become like little minions and agents. They're dispatched and they run around to everybody's masjid and start challenging them all the time. Ahl Sunnah was never known to go out and do things like that. You see what I'm saying? Not in the way that we're doing it. And then when it gets hot, right? Y'all hear the stories in Philly. Think about it. In Philly, some years back, the overall issue was argumentation about the Qibla, but it wasn't about the Qibla. Why do I say that? It was telling people, yo, you praying the wrong direction. And your prayers involved. Right? This is a true story. And it kept going. Alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And it kept going, right? Now, that issue of Northeast versus Southeast is a matter of ijtihad, right? There's leeway according to whichever school you follow, and some are very strict in this interpretation, right? And we're talking about Northeast versus Southeast, right? So now you dispatch these guys, you teach them about praying Southeast. Okay, fine, I respect that, I get that, right? But now they don't stop. This is the problem. They don't stop there. They don't stop there. They go to other people's masjid. And they say, y'all praying the wrong way. Then what the hell are you doing here anyway? What are you doing here? Why are you here? You're in here and you believe we're praying the wrong way. Why are you here? Well, we wanted to give you the truth. You could have pulled me to the side, talking to me about that, but you coming and making a big thing. So they kept going. Then when the big guns started coming out, then it's hold up, let's sit down and talk now. We keep poking the bear until the bear reacts, which also taints the direction, the energy, and the intention, where we're not focused on the conversion of the non-Muslim. We become more focused on conversion of the person to follow my minhaj, my methodology. And sometimes your methodology is nothing but a new era, modern, 200-year-old methodology that's backed by scholars who were submissive to white supremacy. And then it's funny, right? It's what I call the light skin complex, right? I ain't talking about the way people hey, bro, I'm on your side. But look though, right? It's not what people say today, how they be trying to condemn light skin, dark skin thing. Light skinned people, a lot of the revolutionaries in the past were very bright yellow, right? And so they go hard in the paint against against that. And so some of us, we have that type of attitude. We have this anti, I'm anti-Arab, I'm anti-Pakistani, whatever. And I understand. I know the foolishness with them. There's a name for them. It's called a tither. You know, they come and they take benefit off of everything that everything that's already established and claim it as their own. Of course, with the help of the system, right? What I mean by the help of the system, you can have a black Muslim, Hafiz of Quran, etc., etc. He'll never get acknowledged or recognized on the same level that an immigrant. When they think of Islam, when most people think of Islam, they think of an immigrant. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, so they go hard in the paint. But meanwhile, this methodology that you're pushing is coming from places like the likes of Syria and Yemen and all these different places. And then when you start mixing in those things, their cultural practice that don't have nothing to do with the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu, and you go hard in the paint. You start going hard in the paint to the point you're like ready to kill everybody. So really honestly, if we just focus ourselves on studying Islam, implementing Islam, and just making money, taking care of our families and strengthening our families, you make an effort to practice those things within the Sunnah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the things within the Sunnah that you don't have no control over. You see what I'm saying? But the problem be, we want to make this, we read the books, we get hyped up, we get souped up off the books, and so then we want to be like the scholar we're reading, which is no problem. Like, it's good. But, there's a time and a place for everything. Everything has a time and a place. You have to have that chronological timeline. Did this fit? You got to know, what's going on. Can this fit? Like, I never knew, like back in the day, I never knew, really understood, like a lot of some scholars you read about their imprisonment, and then you come to find out they had crooked aqidah. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of times we read all these different books, and I don't know if it's just the American thing to do. We don't like to follow a methodology anyway. We are anti-minhaj. We want to be able to quote from the Shia, the Goofy Sufi, the Ibadi, and everything. We want to know everything. We the only people I know. Like, I follow all four madhabs. Now, how in the heck you gonna do that, right? We don't like discipline. We rebel. I mean, all you got to do is look at our.
We use the strongest opinion,
discipline. Huh?
They say we use the strongest opinion out of the four schools.
That's all hogwash. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then I'm gonna tell you this. This is the other thing too.
The division among our people of bringing Islam to our people was politically designed. Before World War I.
All right, I go way back. The Cold War was about bringing the Arabs in. So I mean, it goes way back. All it is to keep everybody busy, and so that it stumps the growth of Islam. And when you have people that are, and Allah Ta'ala is the one who gives people fahm, gives them the understanding, right? Allah Ta'ala will bless people to be able to basically be tacticians and put things in its proper place, because that's what a mujaddid is. And when you're a person that follows the footsteps of a mujaddid, you're going to dedicate your life and soul into putting things back into its proper place, right? Now, this is one of the things. All of this claim of being Ahl Sunnah and follow madhabs are law. Muslims ain't trying to practice no law. We the most lawless people you can find. We almost like neck and neck with heathens. Everything that Allah says is haram, we find a way to make it permissible. Think about it. And the only time we try to change things is to make it look like we about that business. You know what I mean? Yeah, you gotta have 5 sit-downs before you get married. Bro, that's not gonna guarantee anybody gonna stay married. But it just looks good. It looks good on paper. It gives a false sense of security. That's why I don't believe in lying to people in that manner. I'd rather be real with you. Because at the end of the day, Allah Ta'ala is in control. You see what I'm saying? But then you'll find that real lackadaisical approach and practice with regards to implementation of the Sharia. Right? You may have a sister with high himma, right? High himma. And her hijab, she will die before she even lets you see her eyelid. right? So, but what we do, how we want to undress that sister, we start making mockery of her. You know, that's cool. Allah says that in the Quran. Allah tells us not to even be around people who make mockery of the deen until they stop, right? We'll keep making mockery of the sisters, calling them ninjas, you know, saying things like, oh, you know, they hoes and holy clothes. These are the type of things that Muslims say, right? These are the type of things you say. Then you know what the brothers really want when you're looking at you're looking at what I call the B&J, the butt naked joint, where she just got on a Shayla and her tight pants, because that's who he's looking at. He's staring at her. So you condemn the sister who, you know, who covers herself from head to toe. The same thing the kuffar do. She don't get no love from her own people. And then here, but we make mockery of law because why? Because we're still lawless. We're people that come from a society where the law really doesn't apply to us, but it's applied against us. You see what I'm saying? It don't apply to us, but it applies against us. Those things of benefit, it don't apply to us. But those things that can incriminate us, it's absolutely executed to the fullest extent. So we don't know how to approach law. And then we don't understand. And then you got people that's like mixing and matching, bringing in part secular theory, right? You're bringing in secular theory and with Islam. And so when it comes around to Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving and things like that, then we be like, well, it's not religious. It's not a religious holiday. Come on, man. Come on. How much more we gonna keep going on? And you say, look, I don't practice that. That's the kuffar. That's their thing. You don't find the kuffar fasting Ramadan with us. They're not coming out, yeah, you know, we're gonna acknowledge you, we're gonna do Ramadan. They just started acknowledging your Eid. They ain't never had no love for you like that. It's just politically correct. And it's getting sad now because politically, you know, now we're saying, you know, now we're like, well, y'all let the gay people do it. People now saying, yo, you know, gay people get married. You should let us practice polygyny too. Dude, I'm gonna practice polygyny whether the government acknowledges or not. We don't know. We don't understand. We don't understand what the theory of law is. Claiming madhabs is like, as Sheikh Abdul Sufi wrote in his books, claiming madhabs is like claiming a soccer club. That's all it is. So yes, what's the contribution to our biggest dividing factor? Is dudes is ignorant, and we're promoting the ignorance. We're splitting the people even more. We're dividing a divided people already. And that's just the reality. Yeah, it's just reality. So, you know, I don't know. Okay. You know, like I said, I don't even know, you know, what to say or what to make of it. You know, and that's just the reality. So, you know, this is how can we unify with the people like that, right? Or you meet people at, you know, you meet them at their level. You know that's the level they're on. Then that's where I leave them at, right? You leave them where they at. I mean, you of course you always give the reminder. You're never gonna be free from that. You're never gonna be free from that, right? But however, I'm not gonna keep what am I gonna do? What benefit is it with me to constantly keep fighting with Muslims? We hyped up. If you listen to a lot of our war stories in the black community, and we get hyped about it, we beating up our own people. We beating up our own people. So I mean, you gotta look at the reality. You know, look at the reality. You know, I guess I've been going in. Muhammad and Saleh that left me. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see any comments, questions, or anything. Comments. No comments. So, you know, I mean, what more? How much more divided can we be? We're fighting over the same people. People used to be part of this movement. They elevated, learned a little bit, left that when it came to this one. And then the rival group that teaches the same exact thing is competing and fighting against this one. This is our reality. Our families are divided. Our families are divided. Husband and wife is divided. You take this is what I'm telling you, the respective law, right? There's red flag words that you really can't use in some relationships. If you use the word submissive, that's a red flag word. That gets you a whole 2-hour debate over nothing. Right? So this is where we're at. We're arguing over pronouns. Whether it's a he or they or it or she. Our problem is people learn to use ammunition among strangers instead of learning to teach them on the fly. Absolutely. These things, this is what's happening. This is what's really killing the Ummah. And then you got the new Muslim coming, he like, man, y'all hella confused. I don't know what to do. So he just go buy his little book. He's not worried if that book is from a Wahhabi, from a Ashari, a Matri. They don't care. They just want to learn Islam. They didn't come in for all that. They're like, look, man, I was just doing whatever. I was misguided and lost. I didn't even know my own sexuality. And then here I come, and y'all sitting there telling me, this, that, and the third, and spinning me every which way. We don't even put that much energy in the memorization of Quran. If people 20, 30 years, they still can't read the Quran. It ain't hard. People want to learn. We gotta give them an opportunity. We're not affording them the opportunity. We just equipping them, giving them ammunition to fight other people. To argue. Not too spicy. Or they got a friend, they be like, man, don't go over here, go over here. It don't be popping over there. Let's go to this man shit over here. Oh, new man shit open up. They got a bounty house and everything. All right, yeah, let's go on over here. Yeah, it's just nonstop. It's just nonstop. So until we get serious, and the only way to really get serious is that you have to do what the Prophet ﷺ did. What did they do in Mecca? In Mecca, they existed amongst the people, but they separated themselves. They would get amongst themselves to study, right? Get amongst themselves to pray, right? And this is what you got to do. Because if not, you're just going to be bouncing around from masjid to masjid, arguing and fighting with everybody. Sitting in the masjid, lonely, nobody knows your name. You die, if your family decides that they want to give you a Muslim burial, they got to go in there and convince the board of directors, that you are an active member here. I mean, you might as well start handing out ID cards, Yeah. Did he have his membership? Did he pay his membership fees? I don't know if we're going to be able to do his janaza unless he paid his membership fees. You know what I mean? Like, what else is left? We don't have nothing left. I was going to say what we're going to do, start playing organs, but we already had that back in the day. Remember the Islamic church? We done had that already. So, I mean, what is left? What is left? I'll tell you what's left. For us to start out an all-out holy war over minhaj. That's the only thing that's left. And then, when all of this fighting goes on, I'm telling you, there's big profit in war, right? When everybody's fighting the way that they're fighting, like right now, the climate. You ever notice through all of the theological fighting that we got going on, what's some of the other peripheral issues that pop up? Can you be Muslim and gay? On the mainstream over top, everybody's banging out. Ashri. Wahhabi. Atari.
Can you have a
right?
gay?
And then underneath they're like, can I still be Muslim and gay? Why do I gotta wear thobes? Why do I gotta eat halal? Meanwhile, on top, y'all still fighting. And underneath, the deen is just getting torn apart, getting torn to shreds. How much more? How much more can we take? How much more? We already bleeding half to death. I mean, in a minute, we're gonna be praying. We're gonna be praying. Eid al-Fitr. Listen to an Eid khutbah by Joe Biden. Jihadi Joe. That's what they call him, Joey Jihad. He gonna be giving the Eid khutbah, man. SubhanAllah. That's all that's left. Because we done did the praying at the White House, praying on Capitol Hill, praying in City Hall. We done did it all. And did it all. What is left? What is left? You know who opts out of the system? But when they opt out of the system, the only thing they do is go to some of the worst, to the other extreme, to the worst part of the extreme. The youth. Hey man, the heck with y'all. I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna become a BD or a GD or a Blood, a Crip, whatever. Like, man, you was born and raised. You was raised in the man shit.
Hey, Shay, that's what happened to one of my young boys, man. Come home from Syria, came a BD.
Yeah. They go crazy, and people go back to what they know, and it's sad. And with all that kufr and all that craziness, they have a false sense of brotherhood too, and it's strong. So I mean, what else is left? We almost done. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that there won't be, but the thing is that we just need to teach, set up curriculums and teach, educate the people, encourage the people to get skills, start businesses, make your money, buy land, property, focus on that, but keep it Muslim. That's all you got to do. That's what gay people were doing for years. Yeah. They were just stacking their chips, building up. They was in the closets. And when they came out, they boots on the ground running. Or pumps on the ground running. Which one is it? Flats. Let me stop, man. But no, seriously though.
Hey, look, you know what we sound like though. I mean, I ain't gonna say what we sound like, but all inner disputing and fighting and all this type of stuff. Who Ahlul Sunnah, who's not Ahlul Sunnah, who's Sunni, who's not Sunni. We're like the Yahoo, the chosen people. You know what I'm saying? Trickle off that the saved sect, and then on the other extreme, we have the archdiocese. The imams ain't got no careers. The imams ain't got no jobs. You know what I'm saying? The imams living off the donations. You know what I'm saying?
Preaching is your job.
You know what I'm saying? Doing dawah. Doing dawah don't mean you don't go out there and work and make a living. Doing dawah don't mean it's teaching, and teaching doesn't mean that you don't have a profession. Many of the classical scholars,
true story,
in history had professions. The only ones who didn't have professions,
they already had wealth.
Man, the dean.
Yeah. Yo, true story. I think I've given more shahadas and gotten people back practicing Islam by just being a regular person than I have preaching to them all day. And what I mean by that, people, you know how many people we work with, and you stick around, they stick around you long enough, you come to find out they were Muslim at one point in life, and then all of a sudden, right? Then all of a sudden, they starting to make salat, right? Yo, anybody from South Philly that's watching, right? Anybody from South Philly, my man. Everybody know if you live on the dead end on Grays Ferry side, you gotta know Ezel. Everybody know Eric, right? He hung out with us for so long. We know he's like a staple in South Philly. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he died, you need to build a plaque. Like, yo, this is E right here. And put a 40 right next to the pole. Right? But this dude, he made salat with us. That's all I'm gonna say. He made salat with us. That's all I'm saying. And I'm gonna leave it like that. If he made salat Anybody makes Salah. Because they ain't, trust me.
What I
You
missed?
from South Philly,
I
you
missed
know
anything?
exactly what I'm talking about. Huh?
I missed anything? Did I miss anything?
No, we just talking about, I mean, you got it started and then you just dipped out on me. No, I'm just messing with you. But
I'm sorry.
what you call it? We was talking about, no, we just talking about like the division. Like, what else is left? Only thing we ain't doing is having shootouts in the masjid. What's left?
It happened. You know, not in the masjid, but you know, in front of the buildings now. You know, it happened. You know,
Yeah.
what's next is that you know Islam is going to be strange again.
What's already
You know,
strange?
it's to the point where, yeah. So it's like
The numbers
you
of the
know,
strangers are little. Because remember, what Allah says is always going to take place. And it never stops. So there's always going to be a taifa. There's always a little group. Sometimes we witness it, but we just don't acknowledge it because we're not thinking about the ayahs. Right? Allah talks about if you don't practice, right? It's me paraphrasing, putting in those words, then Allah will bring a people who love Him. And Allah will love them. And they're not going to worry about what people got to say about them. Now think about it. Sometimes we be so worried about what the kuffar think and, you know, what this person, that person think, that we'll give up on, you know, our Islamic positions. You know what I'm saying? But Allah's telling you, He's going to bring about another people who's fearless. They ain't worried about, only thing they see, only thing they got is the pleasure of Allah. That's all they want. You know, like when I have read the statement of General Luger when he was fighting the Sudanese. He said, he was talking about our Muslim ancestors. He said, how can I defeat a people that when they look down the barrel of our guns, they see paradise? I want to have that type of determination. I don't want to give up on Allah Ta'ala's deen. And when you know, and the way things are happening, it's real easy to do. All you got to do is just get discouraged. Some people are weaker than others. You know, I want to be that person, have that firm resolution, 10 toes down. When I see the barrel of your gun, I see the leaves of paradise. Right? I wanna have that type of unshaken iman. You know what I mean? I want to have that iman. If you ever read the story of Uthman ibn Affan, I want to have that type of iman. Uthman was fasting when he died. He was reading the Quran. He had a dream of the Prophet ﷺ that he was breaking fast with the Prophet ﷺ and he was martyred. He was killed. What are you going to do when death comes to you? I mentioned it earlier today in the khutbah, you know, COVID exposed a lot of us. COVID pulled our skirts up, as we used to say back in the day. It exposed a lot. Now you know how many people scared to die. Because them numbers was running across the board like a ticker. You know, like, yo, the Mets beat the Yankees today. That's how the ticker was, the numbers for COVID. Now you start realizing how you ain't really ready to die. So instead of you prepping yourself, getting yourself right, you start getting in a state of panic and anxiety and freeze up. That ain't the time to freeze. It's time to go hard, 10 toes down. But for some reason, we're easily manipulated and mentally defeated, and our fight really isn't that strong, and we get weak. So
but it's okay not
fall back.
It's okay not to be 10 toes down anymore. You know, back then when they tell you when things get get tough, you know, you get rougher. You get what I'm saying? That was one of the slogans then. When the goings get tough, the tough get going.
Yeah.
Right. These were slogans back then. Now you got to think about how the system bred these younger people, such as no child is left behind. Think about their emotions. We're breeding them for not to be tough. Right, not hardcore or gangster. We're not talking about gangster, but acceptance, right? acceptance, like, okay, stuff getting real. Let me put my boots on and I gotta make a way. So now these kids, the kids are growing up to the point where we're catering to their emotions. Right? We're catering to their emotions. So now, now, like you said, that people are going through these panic attacks. We think about the generation now is that these panic attacks is happening because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle these tough moments.
Listen, if you ever coach a football team, you're gonna have to put the little fat kid who runs a 5-2 instead of a 4-2 at halfback, or his mom gonna beat you up.
Right. Before the fat kid
it's
was
not
center.
Fair. You're not letting my son play.
It was automatically. He's fat. He's going to be the center. There's nothing wrong. He need to protect this line.
No, my son ain't gonna be the center. He could be the quarterback. Right. You like, yo, he doesn't fit the criteria, and you can't even give him that talk no more. That's the talk you used to give. You see a kid, he down, like, yo, I ain't make the team. Like, listen, young boy, you gotta go in there. You gotta put in work. He gonna change his work ethic. You know what I mean? And he becomes the best player. There ain't no more of that. That stuff is over with now. Now it's all about just giving him what he wants. They won't let me play. I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna tell the coach off. I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. You don't let my son play. That stuff is gone. No accountability. There's no discipline. The sunnah requires discipline. It does. Think about it. Fasting. Sunnah fasting is every Monday and Thursday, right? Every Monday and Thursday. That's the mutawasit. That's in the middle. That's discipline. It requires discipline. So, yes, success requires discipline. If you ain't got no discipline, you're not going to be that successful. Now, granted, through Allah Ta'ala's mercy, the beautiful thing about Islam is through Allah Ta'ala's mercy, even our weak has the opportunity to gain Jannah, right? Although they will only be considered weak when they're compared to someone who is stronger than them, but even then Allah Ta'ala affords them the opportunity to get the Jannah. One hadith I love, I always read it. I know it's in Imam Nawawi's Riyadh al-Salihin, where they talk about the last man to enter into Jannah. Remember that? And in that hadith, this man, when he seen Jannah, he basically he knew he wasn't deserving of Jannah, right? And Allah granted him Jannah. He basically stop playing with me, Allah. Stop playing. This is for me. Stop, chill. I ain't do a whole lot. And I'm getting this for me. See, Allah Ta'ala, even through that. But you have to put in the effort. You got to put in the effort. Because even though the person has the mustard seed of Iman, that doesn't mean he's free from the fire. So you don't want to touch that fire. You got to put in that effort. Right? But through Allah Ta'ala's mercy, as long as you had Iman, you'll eventually enter into paradise. But who wants to make a pit stop to the fire before they get to Jannah? Nobody voluntarily. You see what I'm saying? It requires discipline. Why do you think a person, Allah Ta'ala gives us doors in Jannah, right? I was talking about this one day with my sons, and my one son, I call him level 4, right? I call him level 4 because we talked about the different levels of paradise, right? And I told him, I said, if you fast, there's a special door for you in Jannah, right? And then there was another hadith I read to him. It was talking about praying and say, you adhere to your prayers, and you do your prayers with sincerity. The believer, without worshiping other than Allah Ta'ala, the believer will get Jannah, right? He can go to Jannah at any door. He was like, man, he said, just like he said, you know what that be? I said, what's up? I think I want to go on level 4. You said there's 7? I said, yeah, 7 levels of paradise. Some scholars say 8, right? We ain't going to debate that. So he said, I'll take level 4. I think I'm going to go to level 4. I think I want to go to level 4. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I make my salats, right? These are the things. This is what's missing. That struggle to get the Jannah. The dunya, Allah already promised you that you're going to get what you're going to get from this dunya. Now, that's not saying go and sit on your hands and wait for the Mahdi to fall out the sky. No, you go and put in your work. But you make sure that you're worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what's important. I think we got to get back to that. We don't move away from that now. Only time we want to remind somebody how serious hellfire is when we want them, want them to follow the creed of Ahl Sunnah. This is the creed of Ahl Sunnah. You'll go to hell if you don't have the proper creed. That's the only time you hear hellfire mentioned anymore. That's what they ain't talked about no more. I remember I used to be an email one master. They told me I talk about hellfire and paradise too much. I was like, wow.
They want to hear. They want to hear the love of Allah. They want to hear love.
I remember in the 90s, you would catch like five different khutbahs talking about the Dajjal and Imam Mahdi. And now you don't hear it nowhere. It's crickets. Or you'll find 3-4 masters talking about going in the path of Allah and jihad. You know what I'm saying? The rewards for the martyr and all this type. You don't hear that anymore.
Now the new thing.
Even with implementing and practicing, we have thick ourselves out of even practicing the deen.
Well, there's brothers that could quote every that don't even pray. That don't even pray. I mean, I'm not making this up.
No, you absolutely right. You absolutely right.
Don't pray. Well, according to this method, I mean, dudes don't go to Juma. And we in Dar Harb. Ain't no Juma in Dar Harb. They ain't no real masters. They ain't enough people for Juma. They not doing the khutbah in Arabic. They don't pray.
The new thing to talk. The new thing to talk about is the new thing is provision, providing for the wife. Multiple wives and how long your thobe and how your jilbab look.
Think about this. Think about this, Saleh. Everything that the nafs loves, we have a strong fight for it. Men fight for more wives. Women fight to be the only wife. Right? Women fight to get more money. Men fight not to give you any money. Right? And they find legal rulings. You see what I'm saying? Find legal rulings for it. People fight to eat haram food. All nuffs. Right? People will exaggerate the understanding of if you sleep and fall asleep in the time for prayer. Dudes will use that all day. They'll sleep 24 hours. Oh, I was just tired. I was sleep all day. like what happened? But they'll fight you if you tell them, yo, I mean, I ain't saying you ain't Muslim, but you ain't looking too good over there. What you trying to say, brother? What you trying to say? We don't have to do nothing. Anything that requires mujahidah, we got a hukum. We got a legal judgment to go against it. That's just bottom line. Anything you want is a legal judgment. Legal judgment to go against it. Every single thing. So what else is left for us to do?
Hey, we got our women fighting over nail polish and wearing fake nails, fake eyelashes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
I remember that stuff was taboo. I would tell you about the time
toenail polish.
I would tell you about that. I didn't tell you about the time a homosexual boy took a shahada in my house.
What you say?
I would tell you about the time a homosexual boy took a shahada in my house. We thought it was a girl.
Yeah.
And so my wife at the time, she was going through it, telling all, because it was a group of girls, but it was one guy, right? And she telling all the girls, y'all can't be wearing weave. This Negro snatched this wig off. Listen, he was trying to practice deen. Oh, we can't wear a wig? Snatched it off, threw it away. That's when you found out it was a boy. That's a boy. I mean, but you know what I learned from that though. Honestly, I learned at that point. I said, yo, there's gonna be a lot more gay people become Muslim, and we can't always keep threatening to throw them off the roof, take them to the highest building in the city and throw them off the roof. I mean, it doesn't change. That is what the Prophet ﷺ said. But that ain't the first thing that should come to mind. You know what I'm saying? That offers some sort of hidayah, some sort of guidance, some sort of counseling, right? But man, that's something I did. That's something I did learn though. I learned that, and as time went on, the more and more I was encountered by people that were gay, and they became Muslim. You know what I'm saying? More and more of that, and they were young guys. You know what I'm saying? I didn't bend, theoretically, metaphorically.
Pause, son. Son.
Yes, pause.
Pause, son.
I didn't bend. You know what I'm saying? I stuck to it. Yo, it is what it is. No, this is a sin. That lifestyle is a sin. They respected it. Because who comes to Islam in order to change it? When I became Muslim, I wanted to know the rules. Tell me what to do and what not to do. That's why I became Muslim. I didn't come into Islam to still do the same thing I was doing when I wasn't Muslim. Otherwise, I'd have stayed non-Muslim.
Come to Islam, you want to bring your jahiliyyah with you.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do? What am I not supposed to do? I used to get mad when people didn't tell me something was haram. Like, man, why you didn't tell me that? Oh, that's good. They was lacking. They was doing all the stuff we wasn't supposed to be doing. And then I do it, and I meet up with somebody else. They be like, yo, you ain't supposed to be doing that. I'm like, and I go back to my homie. I got one brother right now. I can call him right now. I'm like, yo, remember that time you ain't tell me such and such what I do? And you came at me like you was ready to rumble. Like, yo, so why you didn't tell me I wasn't supposed to be doing that? That's just how it is. We don't become Muslim in order to change it. We be projecting that onto non-Muslims. We throw that on non-Muslims. We're like, man, we're making the deen too hard for them, and we're not making it hard for them. They want to get away from that stuff that they was participating in. That's just the truth. So, but anyway, go ahead, brothers. Or do y'all want to close out?
We can close out.
All right. So
I got the young guys here. That's why I'm in the basement. Anyway, the young guys upstairs.
All right. Alhamdulillah. All right, Sheikh Sufi Sheikh.
Sufi pretender, Sheikh.
Hey, listen, man. People think I don't like Sufis, man. I love Sufis. I love the Sufis. The goofy Sufis, I don't do the stuff that they do. But I love the real Sufis. I love them long dua, dhikr making Sufis, bro. I'm telling you. Nothing is more soothing to the soul. I may not participate in group dhikr, but ain't nothing like hearing somebody with a beautiful voice reciting salawat on the Prophet sallallahu, reciting salatul fatih. My
view on that is that do you make dhikr at all? Do you
even
pray at all? You know what I mean? Do you even read Quran at all? You know what I mean? You want to continue decades old arguments about the direction of the Qibla. Are you even praying at all? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's
like, yo, I support stuff. You know who else I like? You know who else I like being around? I like being around Salafis. You know why? Because they some hadith quoting mommy jammies. I like that. It's better than sitting there talking about who's on it, who's off it, and this person and that person. I rather listen to them make mistakes than to listen to talk about somebody, who did what and didn't do this. I'd rather listen to them misquote a hadith so we can sit there and debate. That sort is fun. I don't know. Dudes be running away from their feelings be hurt. Dudes too tender now. Every dude gonna sit there and say that I need to start practicing this. I need to grow my beard. I ain't going back that man shit no more. Dude, toughen up, tighten up, man. It ain't that bad. He might be right. I like Sufis on one end. I like Salafis on the other end. Just for that reason. Oh, don't get it twisted. They start talking that crooked Akida. I'm the first man going out in the blaze of glory. They don't even talk to me. They already knew who I am. This one sister one time asked me to be a wakil. It was actually a brother that brought her to me. He wasn't even trying to marry her. And so, you know, she's, you know, I'm like, you know, asking her questions, like basically interviewing her about, you know, what she's trying to do. Why are you seeking me to be a wakil, and are you seeking marriage, right? So she said to me, like basically like, I know who you are. She's like, you the brother that talk against the dower. I was like, who, me? She's like, yeah. And I'm trying to marry a student of knowledge. So how that gonna work if you my wakil? And you know, so I'm thinking the sister like telling me like, I don't want you my wakil no more. So I'm like, all right, cool then. She's like, oh, I ain't saying I want you my wakil, but it's gonna be hard, ain't it? I'm like, look, man, I give everybody a fair shot. But it was just funny though, and she was like, I know who you are. You speak hard against the Dawah of Salafiyah. I was like, oh, snaps. So, you know. But listen, take us home, Mom.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدر ومقدار العظيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. All right, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good night, everyone. Enjoy your evening.
And everyone enjoy your evening.
Remember, share.
Remember,
share, subscribe.
Like, subscribe, pass it on. For the more, you know what? Before I close out, the things that we're talking about tonight, if you share this and encourage other people to share it, it can help change the mindset of the people with that type of mindset that we talked about tonight. That's how we can begin to help change Islam. Spread the information. Or even learn the information that we're talking about and begin to spread it to yourself as well. Not just sharing, but also create dialogues. Create dialogue. Use your social media platform to create dialogue. You're going to have some people hate you. They're going to erase you. Trust me, they'll be back. They always come back. They can't stay away. So, inshallah. Hey, Benny, Ameen, good night. There's a softy coming.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum to the